Going on? What's going on? Welcome back. Welcome back. Look, we here in the furnace. The furnace, if you don't know, it's where we put everything in. It's where we diagnose and we recalibrate things and look at it where they're supposed to be compared to what they are. That we grow. So we go through that fire. We go through and what we have to go through to get where we're going. Right. So we seek to find. And hey, we're back at it again, episode 9. What a blessing it is to be back here again. I had a little pause, let some things marinate for a little bit. Uh, but with that, we're just looking at the day to days, right? The day to day, the challenges that we all face each and every day, and the things we face that oftentimes cause those stumbling blocks, cause those drag moments in our lives and where we're trying to get to, right? Like, it's not easy being cheesy. It's not easy doing what we do every day, especially for those who are trying to become. And I mean, it's easier to me to focus and build on your life than it is to build on yourself. And that's just me personally. You can take that how you want it. But building on yourself takes a lot of self reflection, takes a lot of like really deep diving. So that as you go and let's say you're building in your life, that you're also as you're looking at the wrongs in the world, that you're not also becoming those wrongs in the world and just adding stature, right? So with episode 9, if you haven't checked out any of them other episodes, like I said, this is the furnace. If you haven't checked out any of them other episodes, go back and check them out. Like I said, there's food in there, there's gems in there, there's something for your tool belt. It's there, I promise you, if you just really want to take it and receive it. And I know we all, like I said, this is an open floor. I'm a believer. I believe God has purposed us for more. But I think we all can sit back and see that we all have to be more than what we are today, right? So this is a welcoming space for everybody, every human being that wants to grow and elevate. Whatever your belief is, whatever your belief system is, to being able to take it out here, put it in, diagnose it, but put it into a place where we can all grow and be better as people to each other and our families. It's a humbling thing to come into this space. It's a humbling thing to seek that growth because then you start to see all the areas in which you need to grow in, right? Or you start looking at all the areas in which you're wrong. So when you get in here, you're going to be humble to elevate. You're going to be humble to acquire that mind that you need because you got to step out of a place of thinking that you already have it. And I'm not saying we don't have tools already that we can use on this journey. I'm just saying ultimately we all have been tainted along our way to believe and think in certain ways that obviously is not healthy for a functional society. It's not healthy for functional living. It's not healthy for functional family dynamics. So we're just peering into the veil, right? We're looking at the other side of it. And with episode 9, it's I decided to title it "Staying Committed to Elevation in a World of Worry and Tragedy." Staying committed to elevation in a world of worry and tragedy. And I think we can all agree that's hard to do. Um, and so I just thought it was very important, especially with all the other episodes and things we've talked about, being able to get just reacquainted in a way, as well as I think just open that door too of like, hey, we taking these moments to say, how do I recalibrate? How do I refocus? How do I reset in? So in a way, it's like recapping in a way because everything we've talked about and all the different things we talked about, all the doors we've opened up, all the things we put into the fire, in the end, we'll always take certain things, right? It's like if you want to be the best football player, you want to be the best dad, you want to be whatever it is that you choose to succeed in and master. It takes not only time, it takes wins, it takes failures, it takes sticking to it, takes building discipline and the characteristics of that, um, regimen, standards, things that you put into your life that help propel you to where you're going, and ultimately don't subtract, right? Because we all do things to subtract. We all do. We all do. And those are the things we're trying to purge. Those are the things we're trying to weed out. But we all do. I am not perfect. I come to this conclusion and even putting this on the table because of the challenges even I face. It makes me rethink to, you know, when we're here, we're not just talk. We're talking. Even when you're giving advice, we're always talking to ourselves as well, because we all can be there. And I know we all want that person that's on here and they look like they got it all together and they got to be on the right path. Just look at them, right? Like we want that, and people get so used to dressing up that they can't even just be real. You know what I mean? So, I face hardships. I face my own challenges, and sometimes I get in my own way in life, and along with all the other things, and we can start stumbling a little bit, and it's like, all right, hold on, what am I doing? Where am I going? Why? And so we got to ask ourselves all these questions to kind of recalibrate, bring everything back in. Like I said, it's that core, right? The world will focus on all these ins and outs, right? But we who are choosing to elevate and choosing to grow, you know. We have to always go back to that core, right? Because that's your foundation. And in many ways, I don't know, that's our faiths, our religions, our beliefs. Like I said, for me, God, like that's my core. Like when I can come in and hone everything back in to that word, to that scripture, to that understanding, to that elevation, to that truth, and most importantly, that um, grace that allows me to dust off, get back up, and get back on the horse, so to speak. But we all need that. It was good to have people in our lives like that. Some of us have those supportive, understanding people. So what a blessing that is. And if you haven't had the opportunity to understand those blessings or respect what those blessings really are, because we don't have to have them. And a lot of times, being the people that we are, we can undermine those things. So that's something I'm just gonna put out there. Sometimes things just come out. So just put that in your pocket. And as people just get better at respecting the things that are in our lives, that we do have, that bless our lives, that give us the opportunity to continue this journey, because we all need that support and we all need that understanding, because none of us are perfect. And that's the blessing of children to me. If you have children, we've all not been perfect. We all have done things, but when children are small and they're innocent, just they come in, they hug you, they love you, it's just as if they've already forgiven you. They're just there to love, and it just gives you that remotivation to reset and come back. So just being able to have anybody in your life like that is something that we shouldn't take lightly, and we should learn to appreciate, because that's a key of life, is learning to appreciate, because we oftentimes don't appreciate and get so either force-fed or so down or so greedy or whatever we're doing, right? Even with food, like when's the last time you just really sat down and appreciated a meal or a home-cooked meal, or the time and effort that someone took to put that on your plate and cook it a certain way and making sure everything was right so that you could sit there and appreciate it. And so, that's just in life. Just, sometimes God does that. He preps and prepares things for us, or however you want to look at it. But, we have these things that are put there and prepped and put in front of us to be able to say, hey, I don't have to have this. What a meal it is to have, knowing that somebody out there ain't eating the way you're eating. Bars, nah. Let's keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling. So, even with, like I said, doing this podcast, it's all new to me. But I know it's put into my heart, and so, diving into it and putting forth the effort and still having, like I said, life and other things, and still battling other things. Like I said, I'm on this journey completely with you. I'm no guru. I'm no master. I'm not sitting up here at the top. I'm not in some chamber, where I'm just like, hey, you come to me and I can give you this grand advice. I figured it out. I found the jewel of life. Like, no, I mean, and I think we can be broken and still have found something that's worth giving. Like when I want to give somebody the word or somebody that truth. Oftentimes I'm still not in the place, but it's always a reminder for myself. So, you know, I'm not that person. Like I go through it with you. That's why I said we're in this fight. So even with that, I started facing my own challenges, and then you start having your own questions. You start having, and it's just a natural state. I feel like it's just a natural thing because we're in this life, and we're gonna hit these roadblocks. We're gonna hit these things. Even working out or anybody trying to get to a certain place, you're gonna hit these blocks along the way to say, do I have anything left, or am I doing the right thing, or just any of that. So hitting those stumbling blocks, and so with that, staying committed to elevation and staying committed to you and why and your whys, right? Why is staying committed and becoming disciplined important? What are the reasons? And for one, if we don't stay committed, how are we going to reach our goals? How are we ever going to reach a point of having true growth? It's like a diet. Like if you don't stay committed to the diet, you're never going to see the true results of the diet or benefits of the diet. Um, discipline, building discipline so that you can stay committed to get to those goals, which you seek to have in your life, and the reason why we're growing, and the people that we desire to become. And this is, like I said, this ain't for nobody trying to become a pop star and all that, but you can come here if you a pop star, because sometimes we just need to get back to real. This is about being a human being and looking at this world and the landscape in which is put together and formulated by most of the evil parts of what we are, most of the darker parts of what we are, which is clearly seen, and saying this isn't right, and how do we get back to the respect of life and people? For me, it'll always be respecting the creator who established the life first. But I think just in the essence of it all, we can see that and begin to work on what we do so that we can. And we know that we have to stay committed, or we won't get there. And so my words to you is, whatever it is, wherever you are, stay committed. Just continue. Don't stop. Keep fighting. Wake up every day, whatever that challenge is. And wherever you are in your spirit, tell your spirit, no, I am more than this. I am more than what you're telling me. I rebuke you. Sometimes you got to rebuke yourself. I'm telling you, like I know. And it's like, no, we're not doing this. Because we've already been down these dark tunnels. We've already been here. We're more prone to think this way or do this than anything else. So, the way I look at it is, we got to stay at it. And you can't give up on where you're going, because only you know what that is or why, but there's something in your spirit that's telling you that this isn't right. This isn't how I should be. This isn't how we should live. This isn't the environment that I want to raise my kids. This is not how I want to allow my kids to be influenced by the same tainted things that have tainted me and my family in past times, that have brought us to this place of living, seeking these vain things. Not that we can't have things, but the respect of things and what those means to obtain those things, or to have those things. And when you see those wrongs, and it's like, okay, well, I have to start somewhere, so I start with myself. And that's going to be a hardship alone, because a lot of times you're going to feel alone. A lot of times you're going to feel by yourself. And what are some of the hardships that we do face? And trying to stay focused. What are some of those hardships? We know it's life. And if you have kids, your marriage, bills, constant changes to our state of living, taxes, all this different stuff, prices, And that's that's the physical part. Things we got from the government. Then you got your food, your work, your pay. The work and pay. All these things can change, and the environment changes, and every day we're facing those exact same changes as we're trying to progress. And that's why I also think it's so important that if we are on these avenues of growth and avenues of change, that we look at these things too, so that we learn how to better position ourselves to to get to where we're going. And some of those things are becoming more disciplined, maybe in other areas, maybe in how we eat, the food that we prepare. And because I always think about it like this too, it's like it's not like I can't ever eat this food or ever eat like that, but why am I choosing to eat like this all the time, or why are we eating like this all the time? Our grandparents and family, they'll tell you all the time, for those that were back then, that how they ate and the old meals they ate and the preparation to feed many, so that they could eat, but they appreciate it because they had a meal. Well, we're at a place now, if we don't eat this certain way, then we feel we don't appreciate it, we're not grateful, and now our kids are becoming just as ungrateful, and then we want them to appreciate all of a sudden. You know what I mean? So we're trying not to be that double standard neither. But with that, we have to take time, learn how to dial down on some of the things that you're doing and live more content. And I think living more content is really key, because you can still do a lot of what you want to do, but doing it more in moderation and in a mind where you can appreciate. So, dialing down with our spending and our finances, what we have and what we can be content with, so that we can be better to face the challenges that we face, and being better to face this world, that they don't take us out of our element for growth, our element for elevation. Because if we're in this fire and we're doing all this work, it makes no sense not to look at the whole picture, or we will keep hitting these stumbling blocks. And I don't have it all figured out. This is just telling you things that I do and that I'm doing, things that I'm working on. I'm right in that fire. Matter of fact, if I ain't in the fire, I'm a whole log in the fire. You know what I mean? And I have to sit there, and I'm there every day. When I'm wrong, I'm there. When I'm right, I'm there. But God is always there with me. So for everyone, your faith, your belief, your morals, those are a lot of things that are there with you. But if we're not careful and we allow ourselves to get overwhelmed, we allow ourselves to go back to the same patterns, we allow ourselves, we don't get back up, and we don't push forward, and we don't fight, and we don't find a way to stay committed, we will find ourselves, and if you've ever been at a low point, you understand that all these things can be compromised. And that's what I'm trying to say. All these things can be compromised. And the reality of it is, like, some people can dress it up. If you're one of those people that can dress it up or you hang your head on something to keep you, looking okay. But what you do in the dark shall come to the light. But for those that can, sometimes I admire that. But I'm not that person. A lot of people aren't. And if you ever hit any real low points, you know what I mean? Some of us wear it on our sleeve. You know what I mean? My life will dictate that. But it's a blessing to be able to get up and restart. I understand I can't lower myself or my thinking to that, right? And just acknowledging that I'm more doesn't stop me from elevating or fighting. So it doesn't take away my past, but gives me the opportunity to grow from it, right? And that's the blessing of each and the gift of each day. So let's keep working and let's keep staying committed, but let's also look at the whole picture, that we can get better at what we're doing and build discipline in these specific areas that we need. Because staying committed and staying disciplined, for one thing, what does that mean? We got to have a standard. You got to have a standard. Have a standard. Figure out what your standards are and make them non-negotiable standards. And work on them not being non-negotiable, because we're very contradictory people, even when we don't mean or try to be. So work on building that character that is less compromising, so that you can have the growth in your life that you want, that you can be more of what you were created for, that you can begin to come more in tune with your mind, your body, and your soul. Because until then, you will never be that. elevated being. And some people feel like they got it. Hear him talk all the time. And it's really just funny to me because honestly, you could just, the moment somebody starts communicating, and then in the way that they communicate, and whether they're saying intelligent things or making them sound intelligent, you really, if you can really hear that it's like you don't really have it. You know, you just found something. You know, and as desperate people, I feel like we find anything. You know, uh, I was having a conversation with my kinfolk earlier, and was just saying that for somebody that's been eating turds all their life, if they see a turd with a peanut on it, that little turd with a peanut is going to be more appealing. You know what I mean? So anything that's a little bit more, forgive me, y'all, but anything that's a little bit more glamorous, we would run to. So that's why I said we have to always pay attention to what we're doing, and if we're really seeking this growth, we have to question and keep doors open the right way, so that we're not investing this time and this energy we have in this life in the wrong direction. Um, and so that comes with a lot of understanding and understanding of self, which takes time for you to disconnect, so you can reconnect, so you can sometimes we even have to figure out who we are, like who am I today, and what is my version of growth, right? And that might evolve as time goes, but at least you having a pure outlook of what that looks like because you took the time to step back. And so we know we're going to face all these hardships, things we see on social media, all the deaths, the racism. Man, the list goes on and on and on. And then you turn around and there's this thing we call Trump, and 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 then these other little minions around him, and we have all this stuff, and there's things that are being done over here and there, and then we don't even have time to fully digest like how everything's going to affect our lives, but we know that they are. But that's the worry and the concern, and things that if we worry too much, they'll take over our lives. They'll bring us down. They'll bring us back to places we don't need to be, back into anxiety, back into depressions, back into a mindsets that a lot of us don't need to be, or which make us more susceptible to going backwards rather than forward. And that's not where we're at, and that's not why we're here in the furnace. So, we want to be kings and queens of our minds, our bodies, and our hearts. Excuse me. And for that, it takes, like I said, there's a mindset. I know we throw a lot of words we use today, we throw around loosely. Brother, sister, king, queen, love. We throw around a lot of these words very, 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 very loosely. And I think there's a purity to all things and everything, and that's what we're seeking here, right? So if we're going to be those kings and those queens, we're going to be those governmental factors over our families that are going to lead and guide generations, then we want to be a symbol, an example of what that really looks like, which takes us to be more complete than what we are today. And by being complete, you need those three things to be as in line as possible. It's the reason why we're talking about discipline, and we're talking about all these things so that we can begin to get there, and then staying committed and fighting through all these diversities and challenges to do it. So, because we're going to continue to see stuff. We're going to continue to see stuff everywhere we look. They're going to continue to promote stuff, and then there's hate, and there's all these different things. So that we're not going to get away from that, we're not going to get away from that. And those things sometimes can invoke our anger and other things that produce the opposite of what we're trying to produce as a whole. I'm not saying we shouldn't be angry. I'm not saying we shouldn't be frustrated, but we sure got to know what world we're living in. It's not for to change overnight. And if anything, it's going to go more down a darker path. But with that, we can still have light, obtain light, and give light. Bars. Bars. Hey, just being serious though, being for real, like, and that's to each their own. But for those that are here, I feel like that's why we're here, right? Some people are like, I'm not forget that. I get one life. I want to enjoy it to the max. And with that, we give in to a lot of our ignorance, and do a lot of ignorant things, and hurt people ignorantly and scar people, and then they become more ongoing destruction along their path. And I think we're here to, if that way we can become light, obtain light, and give light, and we can shine the way that we shine, the way we're supposed to shine. That we can become those sons who are in our own universe, right, in our own atmosphere around our kids and people, to give light, to help, to give energy. Come on, man. I know it's deep, but that's why we got to keep fighting. We got to keep fighting. Not a peak to this. You know what I mean? And that's why people have choices of what mountains they want to climb, and some people want to go to Mount Everest, and a lot of people don't make it. But I feel like on the journey to where we're going, in the mountain that we're climbing, we know that there's a better ending. We know that there's something, and it's not just for our own purpose to say, look at me. Because we want to get to a point where we can say, here, look at us. There's another way, and there's more to what we are. And if we're going to find that, and we don't need to talk, I don't know. Like I said, it just goes on, on and on when I'm just thinking about all the things that distract us as well, and all the false things that distract us that are being sold to us as truths. And that's why I think we have to also be careful, because when you get man's hands on anything, even if it was something pure, you begin to see people manipulate it in their own ways. Whether they're on the same trajectory or not, they end up creating their own lanes, which is what men do, and why we can be so destructive. Because even like with the Bible and religion and all that, we've seen how it's been used in man's hands, and now finding all these categories and trajectories and okays and not okays, and the separation that we find because of it. And I think when you're doing something real, and truthfully, not only are you trying to bring people to a state of consciousness or awareness, is also to bring people together, not just your little group of people or the little people that you want to have. Because like I said, this light that you obtain, you want to be able to give it to more, so that you have a better world, not a better section of people, right? It's like people that find Freedom Island, but then after that, it gets to a certain point where they want to keep Freedom Island to themselves. And, I don't think that's where we're at. We the same way that America was founded. We found freedom, and freedom was from Britain or whatever, and and we want to obtain something, and then you want to obtain it so much, so when you got it, then you start taking it away from the natives who were there, and and you keep going on, and then all of a sudden, wow, you sign a declaration, and look where we are today, and this is supposed to be founded on God, but that's what men do. So, we have to be logical in what we're doing and really pay attention to these things, so that we have a discernment within ourselves to not to listen, because there's always can be food or things that can help you on your own journey, but not to get cemented in things that men have their hands on, that men are telling you this is what's what. And I know, and many people will say, "Hey, well, you're a believer," and like, yeah, I am, but this is, to me, as being a believer, you're also having your personal relationship, like you're personally seeking, you're personally reproofing the word and looking at this and learning history and hearing different outlets and different peoples and different opinions, and then logically putting them together. But then you still come before God as a spiritual being to put them on the table with God and go and get in the furnace with God, so that God can purify and elevate all that's there. That's why I said it's a different walk from somebody just holding the Bible and reading you a bunch of passages. This is a real walk. This is a real spiritual thing. I'm not trying to get just in tune with myself. I'm trying to get in line with my God. You know what I mean? I'm not just trying to find a place where I can just connect with the energies. I'm trying to connect with everything that God needs me to connect to, which is Him first, as He is all these different things. So it's like I can relate to a lot of these different things, but think ultimately what we're just talking about too is just being committed. So I think by being committed, you know, you're gonna have your different versions of people, and we have to just be weary of that. And it's the main thing that I'm trying to say, because man can, and I do believe man have used uh, Christianity very badly and a lot of things very badly, and now they're using these other things. Like I said, you're finding these little gaps of people who are like, they believe it the same thing, but now you're believing it this way, or your path this way, you're speaking about it this way. Now you find a way to make money off it too. Just saying, it's what we do, and especially when we're not truly aligning ourselves correctly and what that means, and logically processing, all the way down to our relationships with each other, all the way down to our relationship with our kids. You know, for me, I don't want anything that leaves too big of a gap for me to be ignorant, right? If I have to be ignorant, you know, I would hope it would be for a reason, like having to save my family or protect my family, protect a child, a loved one. You know, like if I have to get ignorant to that extent where I have to walk away from any part of grace, you know, I would pray that it only be for defending and protecting and elevating. You know, but if that's not where you're at, and I have to question where you are with, you know, with everything and what your real purpose and meaning is. And that's why we have to be careful, because a lot of times we are seeking, we are searching, and we are hurting, and they use all these things against us, you know. And man will love to elevate themselves above other people to get there. But hey, that's that. That's that. Y'all know I'm long-winded. I can get in. You know, I'm in for all 12. So the next thing is how do we fight back and not give in? Um, we'll brief this up. We'll sum this up shortly. Like creating standards and non-negotiables. Write them down. Put them on your wall. Put them in your car. Put them wherever you need to remind yourself. Begin to start working on those non-negotiables. Maybe it's meditating. Maybe it's reading your Bible. Maybe it's things that you know that you do in your world. Like I said, this is for all of us. It's just, are we going to dive in or back out? And it's start creating them non-negotiables. Time to yourself. Time to disconnect, that you can reconnect. You know, but non-negotiable, whatever that looks like or whatever that is. People you're gonna be around. How long you gonna be around them? Like, I don't know. Like, just start creating this standard of life for yourself and begin to start working on it. And it could be one thing or the two things, but choose them and how you're gonna do them. And most importantly, probably the ones you realize that are disrupting your world the most. The ones that are disrupting your world the most, or disrupting your journey the most, those should be the ones that should be first on your list. And primarily, they're probably habits. They're probably your reactions to things and the way you react and the way you respond. And so those are things that you need to work on and set as a standard, because I'm an elevated being, marvelously and wonderfully made, that I need to have a standard of what I'm going to allow in my life for things to break me down or to lower my state of mind for. And whatever that is, it could be a physical thing, spiritual thing, you know, whatever. Like it could be anything. Just diagnose it, sit down with it, and choose those 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, however many you want to write down, but begin to chip off the list and work on those things on a day-to-day basis. And that's what I promote to you today, so that you can get to that place. Surround your world with more good. You know, seek to hear it, seek to touch it, seek to do it. You know, whether it's helping out nonprofits, or maybe connecting more with people doing a good thing that have a spirit of good. Involving more people in your life. Maybe somebody you just didn't really connect with, but they're always a good person. They're always checking on you. They're always coming to you. Maybe go have lunch with them. Maybe there's a reason for that. So you get involved in more good in your day and in your life, and being around, and you know, stepping away from your social media, or stepping away from some of these posts that you already know are going down a rabbit hole. I mean, it doesn't mean you can't re-look at it later, but sometimes you just have to get away from it because you can't dive into it. And you know, once 1 click, 2 clicks, 3 clicks, this post, that opinion, for you know, you're gonna find yourself emerge right back where you started from, feeling about it, because it's something that's not gonna go away, like racism. Like, we already know they don't like us, they hate us, we know it's here. And it's like, if we don't really just make this change, then this is going to stay the same. So I can't allow this to keep pulling me back. I have to recognize it, I have to see that, to hold it, I have to empathize with it, but I also have to allow it to be something that empowers me for my journey going forward, not angers me. Anger isn't power. Anger is exhaustion. Anger is like, it's like, it's like they say about revenge. Like, it doesn't have a finish. It has an end. It's not like love, where love is infinite. Infinite. Hatred is finite. It will burn out. You know, doesn't have that same energy. It's going to take away from you more than it's ever going to add to your life. And you can find projects or things that are going towards those things, right? You can find things to get involved in, or other ways, or maybe voicing your opinion, starting your own podcast. I don't know what it is. I just know involve more good in your day and in your life. And seek it. Seek good. And make a personal decision to leave the negativity where it's at sometimes. 'Cause I always find it funny when people they say they positive, they want to be positive and this and that, but then they so negative and they talk so negative, and then one thing can make them very negative. And to me, it's hurtful to see too, because that we all want to live a better life and be more positive. But just the reality of the way we say one thing, and then do another, it just shows the contradictory and non-groundedness that we have, and the reason why it's important to stay committed into that becoming and building that discipline. Like I said, everything can be brought down to a logical sense, a logical reasoning. So, just continue to break it down, continue to throw it in that fire so that you can figure it out. But definitely do better at pushing away negativity. Whether even it's a family member, you might love them, but sometimes you just gotta what they about to hold it. You can keep that right there. I'm about to enjoy this meal, so I can appreciate this food. Boss. Hey, we're gonna keep it going. We're gonna keep it going. Episode 9. And make a plan. Make a daily plan for those routines, whether the morning. To me, I like to structure things because I need it. I need like a time frame. I need this because life is busy. Life is chaotic. So for me, just kind of building a time frame. And then what I've recently learned is sometimes you just tell yourself, all right, this is a 20-minute thing. This is going to be a 15-minute thing or a 20-minute thing. This is going to be this, but you're working these things into your life. And if they build, that's different. Or if your life ever changes in different ways, maybe by getting more, stable in certain ways, then you can always expand those things, right? And they need to be expanded, right? Nothing's meant to stay content. So we're working on expansion here, but we have to start off somewhere. And so building this so that you can begin to build those things as habits, and they can become non-negotiable. My peace is non-negotiable. My mind is not yours. It's non-negotiable. We can't reason over it, So my soul is mine. My essence is mine. These are non-negotiables, and I can't give them away towards, not even for myself. So we have to begin to be building those things, and as well as affirming to ourselves who we are, so that way we know where we're going. We know how special we are. We remind ourselves in what we are as a species, as a creation. However you want to look at it, but you can understand it because we're here. We can understand we're more, that you're more, and you're beautiful and amazing. Like I said, your body's like a galaxy. You're your own little universe, and you were made special that way, unique and special that way. And that, we have to be careful what we bring into our atmosphere. And so this is why we start building these non-negotiables. And we also start, let the rotation and start kicking things out of our gravity, you know what I'm saying? So that we can have a healthier going forward. So building those routines and creating new habits. Put it on your walls, put it on your phone, whatever it is, start putting it, whether it's your pictures of your kids, and then whether it's a quote, start putting it everywhere that you can possibly put it. Like I said, we have to fight to put this positivity into our life so that we can begin to instead of these stumbling blocks, remaining stumbling blocks, so they can become stepping stones. So, just keep going. I know you can do it. I know we all can do it, and I know that we don't have to fear while we're doing it. So we can just cast out all that fear. We can cast out all that doubt. We can get right here. We can join in together. We can hold hands. We can pray. We can do it all. Like whatever it needs to be, we can support each other, encourage each other, because there is a truth, and that truth is you, and you are special. So looking at each and every one who's here in the eyes, you are marvelously and wonderfully made, and there's nothing about you that says any different, and we don't have to fear about this journey going forward. So get up, dust yourself off, and let's begin to stay committed to our elevation. Let's stay committed to getting in this furnace, and in a world of worry and tragedy, continue to shine bright. So may peace and love be with you.